Alright guys, what's up? This is going to be my first video of this YouTube channel. I would just like to do some discussions on books. I don't know how many views any of these videos are going to get or if they're going to get any, but I'm really fascinated by books and I would like to put my thoughts out somewhere. I feel like there's enough spark notes and summaries of every book, so that's not really what this is going to be. It's going to be more of my thoughts on the book, and then if anybody views this, you could always leave a comment or something. But yeah, so book one, I was thinking of what I wanted to do. I originally started this idea because I'm almost done with War and Peace and there was just so much to unpack that I want to talk about. And usually the first thing I do when I'm done with a movie, book, music, any form of art, is I like to just go and look at discussions of what other people thought or got out of it, especially if it's really like rich in information. So I thought a good book to start out with would be Viktor E. Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning. What I would like to talk about in this is definitely three key things. First, his experience as a whole in the concentration camps. The second thing I want to talk about is the resilience that is shown through the book. And the third thing is the logotherapy that he created after. So firstly, he goes through all these terrible experiences along with millions of others. I mean, this is a part of history. And you just see throughout the book how many times that he almost died or loved ones of his died or people he knew passed away. It's just really tragic. I remember reading this book, I think it was 2 years ago during the summer, and it was just really heavy. I had to stop every once in a while because it was just so crazy to me that all of this happened. And the second thing that I want to bring up, his resilience. The fact that not only has he helped a ton of people after, not only with this book, but as a therapist in a whole, but also the fact that he can recall events that have happened in this book and write it down. I feel like if something like that happened to me, I don't know if I could ever try to think about it again. I think I would try to push it away as far as possible. There's a lot of good things. I mean, you may not be able to see, but I have a lot of good highlights of things that I got out of it. And the third thing is the logotherapy that he created from it. I think that this was one of the most, it was definitely one of the most important parts of the book as a whole. It really rounded it. It was the second half of the book. So logos, I believe, means meaning, and then therapy, therapy. So logotherapy is therapy, finding meaning through therapy, and just the therapy of having meaning, which he talks about how, young American youth are really losing that. And, this book was written a while ago, I think 80 years ago. I could be really, maybe 60 years ago, I think. I could be really off. But you can just see the progression of that getting worse. And I think meaning is especially influential during times of hardship, which is something that he really makes a big point on, is, suffering and different aspects of that. There's a lot of different ways he talks about meaning, but I think that the most influential one to me is the meaning you have through suffering, and that if you're not going through a good experience, instead of going for happiness, going for meaning. And that is definitely something that I got out of it. Sorry guys, I am in a park right now and I'm just trying to make sure that nobody's, too close to, I don't know, the video that I'm trying to make. But I would definitely say he brings up one story, for instance, of somebody who is not getting the way they want in life, and he just kind of flips it on its head of, the meaning or the weight that is on their life that they can transform, which this is a lot of ideas in religion, but the way he puts it, you could think this way in a religious way or in like a secular way of just, another example is somebody's wife and kids passed away and he was the only one left, and he felt bad because they all suffered, they all died, and he didn't suffer. So he felt like, in the afterlife, he may not be with them. And then looking at it from a different lens, Viktor E. Frankl goes, yeah, but you're the only one alive to carry this burden, and you carrying this burden, you're carrying a longer amount of suffering than they are in terms of time. And that really flipped on its head for me, the idea of, which now I'm going on a tangent, is love as a whole. I've always thought that you know, if it came down to me or somebody else, I would want to be the first one to go, which is like a crazy thought. But, you know, I would want them to live a long, healthy life. But then I think, you know, when you get in your older life, you know, I don't want to give a specific age, but if you have like triple digits in your age, I feel like you may think that like you'd want to go before the other person. But I feel like maybe it would be more suffering, you know, if I'm 100, I'm with somebody who's 100 and they pass away, maybe it would probably be much harder for me if I was the one left. So it's like, well, then I guess, you know, I wouldn't want them to have to suffer in that way. But, you know, I don't really think that there's a right answer in that, obviously. So yeah, I'm just trying to get my thoughts out. I don't have too many things to say about this book. I think it's a great book to read. It's definitely not only was very impactful at the time 2 years ago, but it still impacts some of my way of thinking now. And so yeah, it's just a great book. I'd like to read more books by him. And I think that if there's any book that I started out with, I think it would be a disservice to not talk about this one. I went to the Cincinnati, I believe it was the Auschwitz Museum, talking about that, and there's a lot of parallels from, you know, the way he views the Holocaust, or some of the tragedies that happened, and some of the things that were mentioned there, which I thought was pretty profound. And I believe he even has like a quote up there or two, which is pretty cool. But yeah, it's just absolutely devastating. But I do believe that this book definitely helped millions of people. I mean, the stamp at the front says over 16 million copies sold. So, I mean, just the way he talks about the tragic event and the fact that he got something out of it, and he came from a place of love and helping other victims rather than solely hate, which I think would be very hard to not just hate after something like that. And the last thing that I just remembered that I would like to bring up is the last quote of the book. Sorry guys, let me try to find this. I forget if it's, the book's kind of split into two. So you have one part which is his experience, like I said earlier, and then the second part, which is logotherapy and how to apply it. The last quote of the book, the last paragraph: "Our generation is realistic, for we have come to know man as he really is. After all, man is that being who invented the gas chambers of Auschwitz. However, he is also that being who entered those gas chambers upright with the Lord's Prayer, or the Shema," so I'm gonna butcher this, "the Shema Visceral on his lips." That is so profound, because I think we like to think of humanity, you know, some people may think of humanity as, you know, evil. You know, a lot of religions, you know, humanity is evil, you need a God. And then there's also people who just see like the good in the world, like, you know, everybody's good in the right circumstance and everything else, which I feel like in our culture, in our society, in our, you know, planet today, it feels like there's a lot of mix of both. And, you know, even he talked about I believe a Nazi doctor who performed a lot of evil surgeries, but then after, when they went into a jail, they were one of the kindest inmates to people. And Viktor E. Frankl talks about this. And for me, that would be very hard to do, because somebody who did so much evil, now you're going to say that, you know, oh, well, they weren't a bad person here. I feel like it would be much easier to just say, you know, this person's evil, I don't like this person. But he takes it from a whole different perspective. There's just a lot of maturity in this book. I apologize if I'm repeating myself. I think I definitely like to do more of these, but I feel like for the first one, I just kind of wanted to get my thoughts out there. Yeah, there's a few other books that I would like to do. War and Peace, when I finish it, I'm going to butcher his name, but Fyodor Dostoevsky, I believe it is, White Knights, Meek One, and A Nasty Business are all very good. You know, there's some fiction books maybe I'd like to bring up. More psychology books, The Let Them Theory. Yeah, there's a lot by Mel Robbins. There's a lot of good books. So yeah, I think the only thing I would like to end on is, if you have any comments, please put it in the discussion, or please put it in the comments. That's kind of why I'm making this book, or making this video, I'm sorry. If any of these videos gets one person to either read a book, or think of a book differently, or get their thoughts out about a book, I think that that would be a job well done, in my opinion, for what this channel is made. And I think it's also just made because I'd like to get some of my unedited, uncut thoughts. I'm also in a car because I just want this to be like a intimate, you know, little session. I don't want this to be like a, you know, yeah, so thanks.